Yeah, I was just saying that.
Surprised my lips work as cold as it
Oh, because it's
is.
how cold it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bad, it's bad, man. Bad out there.
Let's do it.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Football Guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
You've got to be a champion, and it's week 2 of the fantasy playoffs. It's part 2 of the week 16 preview here on the Audible, and it's Atlanta and the Ravens. And the Atlanta side, you may have been, pleasantly surprised by Tyler Algier last year, Bloom, and he may be on your bench this week. So let's talk about it. And that split with Cordero Patterson, obviously the second game for Desmond Ridder. I'm not going to judge him after one game, Bloom, but I didn't think the kid could play before he started. So certainly the first game didn't do anything to dissuade that. But let's talk about the Falcons and how Algier may have been exciting last week, but you might have missed your window.
Yeah, you missed your window, I think. You have an Atlanta team here that's still playing for the division title. That's the NFC South this year, but this is a really tough matchup because there's nothing credible right now about Desmond Ridder as a passer. Drake London, and look, let me take a step back and say, as I've been prepping for this week, doing rankings, working on tiers, which should be coming out later today, projections. Ooh, this is tough. I mean, there's weather, there's injuries, there's backups, there's teams with something to play for, teams that don't have something to play for. So trust your gut, because Drake London, what does he have to work against? Baltimore corners and Desmond Ridder. But at the same time, you might be looking at weighing him against, say, Amari Cooper playing in 25-mile-an-hour winds. So I'll give you my call, but if you're still alive, trust yourself on these. There's some really tough calls and some really tough stuff to go against, like this Atlanta offense. Like you said, Cecil, Cordell Patterson, Tyler Algier. It's Baltimore's defense. Baltimore's defense is their strength at this point. If Baltimore makes the playoffs, it's probably going to be because of their defense. And as I say, if nothing is guaranteed yet to this team, and there's just not much here. I mean, we should have been starting Kyle Pitts at this point, right? In a great matchup. But this is not going to be a team that's going to produce much for us. With Desmond Ridder, they're basically waving the white flag. This also could be a game with some wins. I like the Baltimore defense, and see, like I said, I think you're seeing why Desmond Ridder fell to the third round, what his limitations were, how his ceiling as an NFL quarterback is maybe lower than we think. What is his ceiling as an NFL quarterback? Not even Taylor Heineke. And so that's some vindication, I think, for the teams that let these quarterbacks fall. But Baltimore this week sees, I thought we were going to see Lamar Jackson under the Christmas tree and just a lump of coal.
Yeah, a lump of coal, lump of Tyler Huntley, which means lots of J.K. Dobbins, a dash of Gus Edwards, and when a Baltimore wide receiver gets shut down for the year on injured reserve, I'm just like, it doesn't matter.
Another one.
If the tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound.
Yes.
So here we go.
If a wide receiver gets put on injured reserve, but he never gets targets anyway, this fantasy football notice, poor Devin Duvernay, it looked like he was going to be something this year. Lamar Jackson, as of right now, I don't know what's going to happen today. I haven't seen the practice report yet today, but he didn't practice on Tuesday, didn't practice on Wednesday. Remember, this week, Thursday is our Friday. So this is our day that we're going to get our final. And the other thing, Cease, another layer to this, and you can speak to this with Denver because you were just out at the facility yesterday. Another thing that's going to complicate this is how true to a typical practice are these practices going to be, right? As far as revealing
walkthroughs.
Yeah. So practice participation, etc. I mean, we're kind of flying on instruments here. So yeah, Tyler Huntley, you're not playing him. I think we can all see how laughable it was, the idea of, whoa, Tyler Huntley's on a rookie contract. That doesn't mean that Lamar Jackson's going to be the quarterback of the future for the Ravens, but it's not Tyler Huntley either, and he's not the quarterback of the present for your fantasy team. Yes, J.K. Dobbins. Yes, Gus Edwards is a sleeper of the week. What the heck flex type, because they're going to run the ball a ton. Mark Andrews, probably got to play him. If someone said, I'm going to start Taysom Hill over Mark Andrews, am I crazy? No, you're not crazy. You're not crazy, because what has he done lately, especially with Tyler Huntley? I know last year he was great with Tyler Huntley. This year, nothing. Is he hurt? Mark Andrews is one of those guys that's been on the injury report with multiple issues this year. So you're not crazy if you bench Mark Andrews. If you've made it this far in the playoffs, he's not really a reason why.
And we move on. Washington Commanders and San Francisco 49ers. And the Commander side of things, well, we already know those assets, Bloom. Now this is on the road, and I don't think weather's going to be an issue
No,
in Santa Clara. So against the 49ers defense, how much are you trusting your normal Commanders
not
assets?
at all. Zero trust. No trust. But again, see, it's pick your poison this week, right? Here's fantasy football in week 16. Pick your poison. You want weather, you want backup quarterbacks, you want the San Francisco defense. I don't want the San Francisco defense, not after what we've seen. So yeah, Taylor Heineke is a desperation play. Brian Robinson, a desperation play. You would think maybe Antonio Gibson, because they're going to be in pass mode more often. He's a little bit banged up, and it's still a really good. Have you watched these San Francisco linebackers fly to the ball? I mean, yeah, I don't want to. Just thinking about the basic exercise of fantasy football, you want production. If you're going against the San Francisco defense, that's like playing in 30-mile-an-hour winds, right? They're a 30-mile-an-hour wind pushing against everything an offense wants to do. Terry McLaurin, maybe. Travarius Ward's great, by the way, under the radar. Number one, we thought J.C. Jackson was going to be the big splash signing towards Achilles. No, Travarius Ward is that new number one corner for San Francisco. So even Terry McLaurin is a dicey play here. And poor Washington, they had a bye. They were going to play the Giants. You just win this game. You got an inside track to the playoffs, but you lose. You lose on some controversial calls, and now you have to face San Francisco. It's all slipping away. It's getting dark for the Commanders.
It's getting late early. Isn't that a baseball saying? I was like, yeah. Who was that? Was that Vince Scully that said that?
Yeah.
Like, it's getting late early. Either way.
He said aren't we all day to day? That's Vince Scully.
Yes, true. The 49ers side, again, normal 49ers asset. You made it this far. You're good. You made it this far. Okay, McCaffrey and Kittle and all this sorts of assets that we're normally going to trust. And I'm getting quite a few Brock Purdy questions, Bloom. And actually, I'm leaning towards Brock Purdy in a lot of the questions I've been getting. How about you?
Yeah, he's safe, ultra safe. If I can see a glimmer of upside, then I might not start Brock Purdy. So here's where Brock Purdy becomes an interesting call. Brock Purdy or Trevor Lawrence in a monsoon, right? Where there's more upside to Lawrence theoretically, but again, pick your poison, right? Brock Purdy or Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy or Russell Wilson. What would you say to somebody who asked you that? I got Brock Purdy and Russell Wilson. Who should I place?
Purdy.
Yeah, I think so too. I got Purdy ahead there. So we're not, but these quarterbacks in the 15 to 20 range, and it's the offensive design, it's the execution, it's George Kittle, it's Brandon Ayuk, it's Christian McCaffrey. You're getting all this stuff into your lineup with the Brock Purdy. Now, for him to have a ceiling game, we need the Washington offense to make incursions on the San Fran defense. Good luck with that. So Christian McCaffrey, league winner, yes. No, they're not afraid. We thought maybe, they're going to not overwork him. No, he's the offense. That's fine. George Kittle, well, he got you through to this week. So whatever happens with him this week, you'll take it. Brandon Ayuk, another one. Pick your poison. He might only get 2 targets or 3 targets, right? They don't need to throw downfield. They don't need to be at all risky with the passing game. But if Washington can make this an interesting game, then you do maybe open up the pass offense. You do take some more chances. So I would probably rather go with Brandon Ayuk than go with Amari Cooper or Donovan Peoples-Jones, those type of plays, Chris Olave in that weather, But again, trust your gut. This team is still playing for the number 2 seed, which again could be the road to hosting the NFC title game. So a lot still on the line for San Francisco. And as someone's saying in the chat room, a really fun team to watch. It's really great, Cecil, when there's a defense that gets you excited to watch them. Just like when the ball snapped, you're not watching where the ball is. You're watching these guys play. That's San Francisco's defense right now.
That is fantastic. Eagles and Cowboys would have been more fantastic had there been Jalen Hurts, and I don't think he's been officially announced out.
It's not.
You've got not looking good, right?
Yeah.
Not looking good. It's looking like Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
So Gardner Minshew, their version of Taylor Heineke, he's going to play some YOLO ball, and you're not going to not start AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Okay, that's JJ Brown. So could they lean more on the ground game? We know that Dallas is check whoop ass. They're going to try to rush and confuse Minshew, and he doesn't even have to be forced into bad throws. He just makes them because he's YOLO, man. It's like, boom, I'm going to throw it up. So, draw play, screen passes, these type of things works. Miles Sanders in the conversation. So let's discuss the Eagles and think, what might have been if Hurts had been available.
Yeah. The chances of Jalen Hurts playing aren't dead, but they're coughing up blood, Cease. They're calling in hospice. Gardner Minshew Magic. He's in one of my playoff lineups. Just picked him up off the waiver wire, right into my lineup. My other choices are like Aaron Rodgers and Brock Purdy. But I've got him as a top 10 quarterback this week because of exactly what you said, Cease. Exactly what you said. He's going to let it loose. And we saw what Trevor Lawrence did against this Dallas defense last week. We're not afraid of this Dallas defense. Minshew has that experience. He's always looked like an NFL starting quarterback when he's played, even in terrible Jacksonville teams that weren't going anywhere. He has the wherewithal. We're not talking about a fringe player here in terms of his track record. You see what he has around him. You see the potential. Again, no weather issues here. This game's indoors in Arlington. So why not Gardner Minshew? I think where it even becomes interesting with Gardner Minshew is I'd play him over Geno Smith. I'd play him over probably Jared Goff. I think I might play him over Tua. I think there's a lot of ceiling here. I think that Gardner Minshew is got a great potential to reward taking a chance on him when we look at the surroundings for him. Miles Sanders. The one thing about Jalen Hurts not playing this week is now Miles Sanders has a chance for a nice 3-touchdown game on the ground, right? Because it's been Jalen Hurts automatically getting that call when they're at the goal line. Like you said, of course you're playing A.J. Brown. Of course you're playing Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert. I was pondering this one, CCC, above or below the Taysom Hill line. There's just something poetic to me about playing Taysom Hill. It's kind of like playing Gardner Minshew, right. Where it's being bold enough to understand that whatever conservative things we've internalized from years of playing fantasy football, sometimes you have to just stop thinking and visualize the game. How's this game going to go? Dallas Goedert could be a good play this week. I'm assuming he's going to play. Was almost cleared.
It was close last week. Yeah. So the fact of ease him back in, the fact that it was close last week means to me, they probably won't ease him back in.
Right.
Could be totally wrong, but Goddard is one of those. And I look at your opponent. If you come to me with Taysom Hill or Goddard, I go, how's your opponent?
Right.
Is your opponent way better than you? Then go Taysom Hill. If you're better than your opponent, go to Dallas Goedert.
Yeah. Maybe pocket those 6 to 9 points that you should expect from Goddard. So these are the complexities of the choices. And remember this also. If the Eagles win in this game, they clinch the number 1 seed, they clinch the division, it's all done. But they have New Orleans and the Giants. So they don't have to push all the chips in and say, we have to win this week. They can also look at Goddard and look at the way they're handling Hurts. Well, we don't know internally Hurts' condition, but everything is an incentive for them to sit Hurts, right? There's no reason for them, if they have 1% doubt of whether to play Hurts this week, then don't play him. So all these things factor into what we're looking at with the Eagles. But I think bottom line, Cease, this is going to be maybe the highest scoring game of the week. And certainly a game that you want to err on the side of having some players in this game, especially if it's Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, and the Dallas side is interesting behind the, Tony Pollard and Zeke and CeeDee Lamb. It's interesting because it's is it Noah Brown or Michael Gallup? Watch it be T.Y. Hilton. Or James Washington or something
right.
And then which one of the white tight ends that look like each other? It's Dalton Schultz. No, it's not. It's the other one. Okay. They're all the same, but hey, if you know what you like, go get what you like and repeat. Rinse, repeat for Dallas.
Right. They have a type. So Dak solid. In this game, Cease, I would play Minshew over Dak. I'd play Minshew over Dak because you have to go against the Eagles defense. Then Dak hasn't given us those true ceiling games because, this offense is going to run through Pollard and Zeke in the backfield, who are both, let's call them strong running back 2 plays. But the Eagles, remember, they reinforced that run defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles defense is one of the major outcome determiners in this game because it's still a very good defense. But yes, you're going to play Pollard and Zeke. Yes, Dak is still a solid quarterback 1, as is CeeDee Lamb, a solid wide receiver 1, going to face some good coverage here. Now, Noah Brown, even though he's coming off of that 2-touchdown game and the game losing interception bouncing off of his chest, not as excited about him or Gallup or Washington or Hilton because of those outside corners for the Eagles. And that's why you like Dalton Schultz, although like you said, Cease, Peyton Hendershot with the touchdown last week. Jake Ferguson, I think, is banged up. Sometimes he was getting the touchdown. But this Philadelphia defense definitely encourages you to throw to the tight end. And for Dallas, you have to wonder what their level of motivation is. Now, there's intra-division rivalry, but they're They're the number 5 seed. Cecil, you run the simulation 10,000 times for the last 3 weeks of the season. 9,987 times they're the number 5 seed. And most of those times they're going on the road to face Tom Brady. So what do they have to play for? We'll see. This is going to be a good fantasy game. Really difficult to project what the levels of intensity are going to be, but in a division rivalry, probably pretty high.
Next up is a game where I don't even really want to talk about the game. I just want to talk about Franco Harris.
Yeah.
And it's Raiders and it's Steelers up, and we'll talk about the game.
Let's do the Raiders
Darren
side.
Waller,
Yeah.
And then let's get to the Steelers side because it's a heavy day.
Let's take a moment.
Be certain. Yeah.
Let's take a moment. Let's just do this game all at once.
Yes.
And then I'll throw it to you. Throw it back to me, Cease. From the game standpoint, yes, you're going to play Josh Jacobs. Yes, you're going to play Devontae Adams. I'm not sure about anybody else. Derek Carr, at least, I'm not afraid of playing Derek Carr, although we're going to bring in Franco to the fantasy analysis here, Cease. This is a primetime game. They're retiring his number.
Oh,
this is one of those things.
You're going to go off.
And really, is this every time this stuff happens, Cease? And I'm already jumping into the Franco thoughts when I think about this, but you wonder, like, is this the last time the Steelers 70s team is going to get together? You know, this is the last time. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying it's the energy in the building is going to be pretty intense. All right. Steelers going to feed off of that. So yes, you're going to play Jacobs and Adams, but it could be a floor game otherwise for this Raiders defense. Maybe the Steelers defense. I have the Kansas City defense in one of my playoff lineups. I think the Steelers defense is on waivers, and I'm thinking about it, Cease. I'm thinking about it. On the Steelers side, Pickett's back. So that Deontay Johnson's banged up with Pickett back. And again, Deontay Johnson banged up with Kenny Pickett is still probably a better play than Amari Cooper. I think these are the kinds of things I'm going to have to ponder as I do the tiers after we finish this show. But it's Najee Harris, maybe even Jalen Warren as a what the heck flex. They ran the ball twice as often as they passed last week. Pat Freiermuth, sure. Pat Freiermuth or Hill, I think comes down to the choice Cecil was saying earlier. If you need upside, Hill. Freiermuth's, he didn't catch a ball last week. Probably going to get a couple of catches, a chance at a touchdown. 3 catches and 50-50 shot at a touchdown here. But Cease, certainly waking up yesterday and reading that news, knowing everything that was coming up this week. And, on a personal level, like growing up in the shadow, Cease, I'll just put it this way before I hand it to you. If the Immaculate Reception doesn't happen, I don't know if we're sitting here doing this show, Cease. I don't know if my life would have taken this path without the Immaculate Reception.
Yeah, and it just the emotion's going to be incredibly high in this game, and probably lots of tears.
There's gonna be tears in a few minutes here.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of celebration, and like you've mentioned multiple times, like go to the Pittsburgh airport, there's Franco right there. There's the Immaculate Reception. There is, the most famous play in NFL history. It's if it's not, it's Mount Rushmore of those famous plays in NFL history. And I'll just speak as a Coloradan who is a Steelers fan, like going to the secondhand stores in the 90s to get clothes and wearing 70s Steelers gear. Yeah. So I was that dude in the 90s rocking the 70s gear because that's what we could afford. But I had a Franco Harris jersey, Lynn Swann jersey, and Terry Bradshaw jersey, and they'd all been done playing. But my Franco one was different because it was one of the long. Remember the old 70s, like it was almost like a baseball jersey
to the elbows.
Yeah, to the
with
middle of your forearm.
Usually with 2 stripes in the middle of the bicep would be
Yeah. So the Franco one always stood out, and as a running back myself, running back / quarterback, like you grow up emulating people. And for me, those greats were like Eric Dickerson, Walter Payton, Franco Harris. Bloom, let's hear your thoughts.
Oh man. I mean, I've already got tears in my eyes, and it's hard because it's just football. I've never met Franco Harris. Why should I be emotional about this? But see, it's all connected. We talked about this yesterday off the air. Every death we mourn, and we're mourning our own death, right? It's always just a reminder of how temporary this is. Mm-hmm. And it's always a reminder of with love and attachment comes loss and pain. It's just, and a couple of times in the show that I've gotten emotional before, I don't want to cap this. I don't want to filter this, because this is real and the shares it. It is impossible to explain what the Steelers mean to people who grew up in Western Pennsylvania. I was born in 75, but it was kind of like there was a war that happened, and these were the heroes of the war, and we would put them on a pedestal for the rest of our lives. And they embodied everything we wanted to be. And Cecil, you mentioned it. I mean, this is going to be me being a homer. The Steelers dynasty is the greatest dynasty because look at the characters. Rocky Blyer was playing with shrapnel from Vietnam in his body. Mean Joe Green in the commercial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Terry Bradshaw from coming from Louisiana, who was terrible for like the first 4 years of his career.
Couldn't spell cat if you spot him the K and the T.
Right, Hollywood Henderson. Lynn Swan, the ballet dancer, making ballet. I mean, at a time when the ballet dancer in football, we've come a long way in 50 years since the Immaculate Reception culturally, I think. But that was unreal. Jack Lambert with no teeth, right? With a grimace that would make a rabid dog whimper and run away, right? And so on and so forth. I mean, it was just the most incredible, epic, mythical group of people. And you grew up in the shadow of this. And remember, this was also a time that the steel mills were closing. The city that had created this amazing identity around, speaking of helping win the war, the steel industry.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought everybody together in this way that still to this day persists. And then there was Franco. What can you say about Franco? Everyone's mom, he was number one. He was the handsome Steeler, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he also belonged to everybody, right? Franco's Italian army, right? The Penn State fans, he was their guy, right? And he was the Steelers great that could have been your friend, right? He had a perma smile on his face. He was one of the most accessible football greats ever. Can you just see it in his aura? He had no sense of overinflated self-importance. There's tons and tons and tons of stories about the great works he's done as a man, as a human being, and using his stardom and his recognition for good. I think the main thing about this that really lands, and it's just, is it terrible? Is it sad? He was going to be the third Steeler to have his number retired. He will be the third Steeler to have his number retired on Sunday night, and he's not going to be there, but he is going to be there. Because I think Franco Harris is one of those players that again, when you think of Franco Harris, you think of the Immaculate Reception, which was the play that launched the. There's a lot of stuff been written about it in the last couple of days. It was the play that launched the popularity of the NFL. It was the play that really ushered in the Super Bowl era.
They preempted it to go to Heidi. That's how they treated the NFL back then.
Yeah.
After that, no.
Yeah. And I want to mention Myron Cope. Again, Myron Cope's another person. Without him, I don't know if I'm here doing this with you right now, because growing up and listening to Myron Cope was just himself. Screechy, words that only meant something to him, a total homer, He invented the terrible towel. I'll get your yellow towels and bring them, swing them, He was the one who said, from here forward, December 23rd will be the Feast of the Immaculate Reception. And what that really embodies, and it was big for the Catholic community too. There's a huge Catholic community in Pittsburgh, and that was really big. And it was a time, I think, that organized religion and the role in people's lives, that was starting to slip too. And it really embodied the way that religion and sports play a very similar role in our lives. The rituals, the faith, right? Community. Absolutely. And football's on Sunday, right? And it really was a miracle. So I guess in this moment, it's a good moment to remember, and especially the holidays too. Like this is all just too much, right?
Mhm.
It's just a good moment to remember and savor all of this, because one day it's not going to be here for you and for me. So when we get tears in our eyes and we get choked up about death, it's because it's written in that the love will lead to loss, that the attachment will lead to pain. But that's what gives it meaning in the first place. And I guess it's going to resonate. But at the same time, the feeling in the building is going to be, well, I mean, just something that only a confluence of things like this could create.
Right. Right. Unparalleled. Absolutely unparalleled. So fantastic memories and fantastic stories, Sigmund. Thank you for sharing. And now the part of radio that sucks because it's like,
Yeah,
hey,
right.
touching moment.
Do you know about Nick Castellanos? He's now with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
2 or 3 times in his life. So remember when there's the announcer who like slurs against the LGBT community for the Reds who had to step down? Do you remember that? I forget his name. He was the announcer forever, right?
Okay.
He was making his speech about how he was going to step down because of everything that happened. And in the middle of that speech, Nick Castellanos hit a home run, right? It's like, and there's a home run by Nick Castellanos. And then like at some point later in the future, in a Kansas City Royals game against the Reds, they were paying tribute to this member of the Royals family. He was like in his 90s, World War II veteran.
Okay.
And like he died the previous week. And in the middle of that, he hit a home run. And there's a home run by Nick Castellanos. So, and there's a home run by Nick Castellanos.
Okay. And there's a home run by the guy. I can't pronounce his name. Packers and Dolphins is up next. Yeah, everybody. Football. Why do you love it? Again, like, why do you love it? I get offended when I run into people that want to sit in this space and don't love football. Like, you got to love it. You got to love it. Love it. Be good. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers. What does he love? Himself. And the man in the black hat, like the visions from ayahuasca, like maybe he'll start throwing to the man in the black hat. It's like an episode of Westworld or something. Like, all right, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. And again, Brock Purdy, Aaron Rodgers. Well, Gardner Minshew, Aaron Rodgers. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we're here, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those last glory games for Aaron Rodgers. We get a shootout, we get a 38-35 kind of game. Because that's what I'm thinking about when I'm weighing Gardner Minshew against Aaron Rodgers in my lineup this week. I wouldn't be surprised. You got Romeo Doubs back, Sammy Watkins now. What the Ravens claimed him, I think. So you've got all hands on board, and I guess the real question here is the Packers defense going to contain Tua? Because then you don't need the Rodgers era show, because the better mode for this offense is what we saw last week, Dillon and Jones, and no concussion for Dillon. So we're okay there. But I think that the possibility that Miami can open up a lead here makes you a little more shy about playing Dillon. You're still going to play Aaron Jones for sure because of what he can do in there. Christian Watson, now we saw if they can run the offense through the backfield, if it can be a game that their defense can help them control, and Romeo Doubs is back, and Alan Lazard, we're not even really considering. I mean, Alan Lazard's a what the heck flex. Romeo Doubs, what the heck flex. Christian Watson's a what the heck flex plus, because he had that ability to have a big game. And then couldn't we see this as a 15-round heavyweight title fight where it's, there goes Jalen Waddle for a 67-yard touchdown. There goes Christian Watson for a 70-yard touchdown. There goes Tyreek Hill for a 54. Now it's Christian Watson again with we could see that. So Watson's really tough to leave on the bench this week. But if this game goes the way the Packers want, and the Packers are still alive, Aaron Rodgers is still alive, then it's not going to be. So there's a lot of variables here. There's the Green Bay defense, the Miami offense. How these two units perform in some ways is going to determine the distribution of yardage and the size of the production pie here for Green Bay. This is an intriguing game, though, because Green Bay's not dead yet, and Miami's not in the playoffs yet. I mean, Miami, they still have to play Buffalo. Miami, after all the success that Mike McDaniel's had, they still have to play. They still have to play New England and the Jets. So there's no gimmies left on his schedule, and they're only at 8 wins. So Tua, this is a test, and Green Bay's defense they're going to make the questions maybe a few little surprises because they have got some players on that defense.
Yeah, they got some players on that defense, and Miami's going to counter that with their own set of players, and Mostert and Wilson and Waddle and Hill, dash of Jasecki there as well. It all leads back to Tua, and this is one of those. This is English, and I like to speak it. This is one of those games, Bloom. One of the few where weather's not a factor.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you have like that Philly Dallas game. You have the potential for high scoring. So yes, you're going to go with Tua. Now, at this moment, I actually have Minshew over Tua, simply because we have seen at times this offense get frustrated by a good defense. Now, Rashawn Gary's on IR, but they've got players at all three levels of the defense. All right, this is going to be a really interesting game. But Tua is still a top 10 play. Mostert and Wilson, what do you do with this? Mostert misses practice. Wilson, he's working on the side. It's the Miami running game. It could be 8 carries the whole game. It could be also like we saw last week, Raheem Mostert looked really good. We've seen Jeff Wilson look really good. They're what the heck flexes, and ones with low floor and maybe not as high a ceiling as we want. Of course, you're going to play Hill and Well. There's not much to the fantasy football outlook of this team. It's been pretty much the same every week, and that's okay. What's more interesting here is Miami as a test. This is a good barometer if they can go and seize that playoff spot, because it sure seems like the way the AFC is going to seize those last spots, they're going to go to the teams that seize the spots. I don't know if we're going to have like the Steelers backing into the playoffs last year. I don't know if we're going to have that this year. No. So Miami, you're on notice. And again, this is a really intriguing game and potentially high scoring game, or a game that could be defined by defense. And this again comes back to being filed under trust your instincts on this, because even the game sees that we don't have to worry about weather. We still have a large range of outcomes.
Large range of outcomes, except for Denver and the Rams. It's a Nickelodeon game. I'm like, you don't want to scare the kids. Like, come on, what are you doing this for? Broncos side, Russell Wilson's back. You're starting Russ. I love you, Russ. Say hi to Sierra, Russ. Like, he's back.
Right.
Will they continue to run the ball, or will Russ force his way to throw the ball more? Sutton may return. They just adjusted the media schedule, so woo, we gotta go anyway. So Sutton may return. He's been practicing on the side. We'll see what happens there. But this Broncos offense relatively boring. So much like Tyler Algier, I feel that way about Latavius Murray. Like, hey, just got Murray. Awesome, Russ is back. They're gonna run it like 15 times.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of the few times I'll say I'm going to differ from Cecil on the Broncos, simply because I think that I would expect it to look like last week. How many carries did Murray get last week? Like
24.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable expectation. Like what I'll project is probably like 18 or 19. But the Rams offense is not going to force the Broncos to have to go crazy. That's why you don't like Russell Wilson, even though he played some of his best football of the season right before he got hurt. So you kind of want to put him back in, but the Rams aren't going to force the Broncos to. Is Cortland Sutton going to play this week, Cease?
It looks like he's almost back on the side field. So
yeah, so Judy is still a wide receiver 3 flex, but I think it's a Latavius Murray game. Cease, and look, I'll turn it around and say I'm differing from you because I wanted to set up. Everyone's going to remember when Latavius Murray was signed, and on this show, and I asked you, Cease, point blank, I said, which running back do you want to have from this backfield, Gordon, or I forget who else was still there, and then Murray was signed, right? I don't even remember who. Mike Boone, I guess. Yeah. Gordon, Boone, or Murray. And Murray was just signed off of the Saints practice squad. He said, it's Murray. Murray's the guy they want to trust. Murray's the guy that's going to be. And here it is, that if you listen to Cecil and you picked up Latavius Murray, you may not have played him at any point this year. This is the week to play him. I think this is the week that you got to play him. I have him about running back 13 or so, and he catches some passes out of the backfield. Even Marlon Mack as a deep what the heck flex here. But yeah, this game is going to be terrible. It's the Nickelodeon game. Slime, everyone loves a slime. You can't do that on television. You can't show this game on television unless you've got SpongeBob and slime and a bunch of other stuff. The other thing that's funny about this game, Cease, I don't think we've ever had this happen before, where there's a game as we go down the stretch where neither team has their first round pick, but they're both in the top 5 picks. So it's kind of like you're playing against other teams' fan bases.
Right.
Like Denver, you're playing against the Detroit fan base. Like they want you to win.
Seahawks fans are rooting for the Rams to win, so their pick is better.
Right. Right. How do you even do that math? That shows you how messed up these teams are. Well, the Rams at least got a Super Bowl. The Broncos, maybe a new coach.
Yeah. New coach, new direction. Baker Mayfield running around making plays, and they're going to try to slam Cam Akers down their throat. Bloom, I don't know if that works. And when that doesn't work and Baker's left to his own devices, could be disaster.
Yeah.
Start your Broncos defense, everybody.
Yeah, Broncos defense, Akers will what the heck flex, and that's it. That's all, really. Yeah, I mean, the Baker Mayfield story was nice for a second, and now we're back to like, yeah, he's a backup quarterback. He's an okay backup quarterback. He's not even Gardner Minshew. Okay. If Baker Mayfield was the backup quarterback for Philadelphia, I would not be recommending starting Baker Mayfield this week. And yeah, at least Nickelodeon. It's fun for the kids, right? And we got the pile.
You're supposed to make kids like football.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Like, what is this boring stuff?
Yeah, well, but at the same time, Cecil, when you think about what draws kids in with that stuff, it's the slapstick, right? It's the physical humor. There's probably going to be some physical humor in this game.
Be like Keystone Cops out there. Buccaneers and Cardinals is our next game up, and the Tampa Bay side. Lots of Tommy Brady questions this week for sure. Tom Brady, Brock Purdy. Tom Brady, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
How many times are you going to tell people to start Tom Brady this week?
Probably a lot, actually, because Arizona, and I'm not sure if Byron Murphy's going to play, but I don't even know if it matters now that this is an Arizona team. See,
as washed as wash could be, as checked out as I've ever seen a team.
Yes, exactly. You watched
Crazy.
them last week. And the thing is, I think everybody knows, and they just signed Keim and Cliff Kingsbury to extensions. Keim's on a medical leave. Kingsbury, Kyler Murray is out. And again, we've talked about this a few times in the last few weeks since last week or so since Murray got hurt. But this is the end of the line for this franchise blueprint, I think. And they may play it out another zombie year next year. But I think everybody understands that we've seen what this is going to amount to. This, speaking of confluences, I always think confluence Pittsburgh, the Three Rivers, right? The confluence of the Three Rivers here was keeping Steve Keim, hiring Cliff Kingsbury, and drafting Kyler Murray. And it led to a maelstrom, an eddy that just sucks you down in as an Arizona Cardinals fan, that this is not going to lead anywhere. And for Tom Brady, it's good. Leonard Fournette and Rashad White become running back 2 considerations. Chris Godwin is in your lineup. Mike Evans. Again, with all of the pick your poison, you're playing Mike Evans. You don't love it, but you're playing him. You're hoping for something, a big play here maybe. And even Russell Gage. We'll see about Julio Jones. If Julio Jones is in, and this is the Christmas games, by the way, we crossed over into the Christmas games. So you aren't going to have clarity necessarily on Julio Jones. We'll see. Tune in. I'll do the best to have my projections and rankings reflect that. Russell Gage had 2 scores last week, and Russell Gage fits well with that dink and dunk. So kind of like Latavius Murray, we've been hanging on to him or watching him on the waiver wire. This might be the week that you play Russell Gage. I have him in one of my playoff lineups, at least right now. And yes, the same one is Gardner Minshew to Russell Gage. That's the key to winning your championship.
That is the key to your championship. And the key is not starting any Cardinals.
Yeah.
You can wrap up the Cardinal side real damn easy. James Conner, maybe. Try to run the hell out of the ball as much as they can for as long as they can.
Right. It's tough.
Ugly, man. Ugly.
Yeah, it's tough because the Bucs run defense is pretty stout, and then you have Carlton Davis. You have an aggressive pass defense. So DeAndre Hopkins is a good example of a player. I got DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm weighing him against Deontay Johnson. I'm weighing him against Josh Palmer. I'm weighing him against these guys because, see, you can talk on this. You've seen, which was Trace McSorley at one of the games, one of the All-Star games?
If he wasn't good.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. If you remember Trace McSorley as a draft prospect, I mean, who does he owe? Like Taysom Hill or someone like that?
Yeah.
Even that he's in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in the NFL. It'd be like if Easton Stick was starting, right? He's simply in the NFL because of his athleticism. And you saw him, maybe Trey McBride. He threw a few passes to Trey McBride. But you can speak to seeing him at the end of the game last week and whether you would have any faith in him being able to just get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. And it's tough. Like if someone said DeAndre Hopkins or Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins or Gabe Davis or whatever, I'm probably not going to play him over. I'm probably not going to sit him for a weather wide receiver unless it's Stephon Diggs. But I'm not feeling good about it. I'm not feeling good at all about this. This is, like you said, Cease, a checked out team, and that does not equal fantasy success.
Fantasy success abounds. Well, maybe for the Monday night game, and that is Chargers and Colts. Our next game up. Got plenty to talk about on the Colts side. The Chargers side is simple. Hey, is Mike Williams healthy? If the answer is yes, then you play him. Of course, everyone else Austin Eckler's test results were negative. I'm not sure it was an MRI or not, Bloom, but either way, negative. So Justin Herbert, and Happy learned how to putt. If Justin Herbert changes the Chargers' DNA in terms of like they choke, they always choke, they don't know how to win close games. They've done that the last 2 weeks. They've won close games. The Chargers will be the team nobody wants to face in the postseason.
Yeah. And they're getting healthy at the right time. So Justin Herbert slam dunk play this week. Again, not a weather game. Chargers playoff push. Don't we want to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We want to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs. And we want Justin Herbert in our lamp in the fantasy playoffs. We want Austin Eckler in. We'll hope that shoulder holds up. You got to play him. That's why Joshua Kelly has at least some deep what the heck flex desperation play upside if Eckler gets a little banged up, or if they can build a lead and say, okay, we can put Eckler on the sidelines now. And if they build a lead, Eckler will be part of that. Don't worry. Yes, Keenan Allen. Yes, Mike Williams. Maybe even Josh Palmer, because Justin Herbert, again, playing well, and Palmer's had a reasonable floor. And probably Gerald Everett, but Donald Parham is back. So again, everyone getting healthy at the right time. How do you match up with Allen, Williams, Palmer, Eckler, Everett, Parham? Maybe you have an athlete who can run with Everett. Is he 6'8"? So because he can't jump with Donald Parham. So it's up to Joe Lombardi. It's up to Brandon Staley deploying this offense, getting this defense up. Good test against the Colts. And we want that Chargers playoff push. And for the Colts, Cease, what a bizarre season. And we've seen a lot of weird stuff. 16, 17 years we've been paying close attention together, taking this journey together. I can't recall anything remotely like the Colts season this season.
Yeah, now with more Jeff Saturday. And hey, we finally went to Nick Foles. Really? Now? You went to Nick Foles? Okay. So Nick Foles is out there. No Jonathan Taylor, of course. Did they shut him down for the year finally? Because the last report was
IR. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to, and yeah, okay. So done there. How do you have faith in Deion Jackson, ladies and gentlemen? And I'm just interested to see Nick Foles. It's Monday night. It's the day after Christmas. By the way, programming note, we will be doing a recap on Monday. We're not on Sunday.
Right.
So Monday. And you're going to be doing a Saturday morning show with
Saturday morning show. Yeah. So the next time
a Sunday morning show. Yes. So, and no Thursday night show tonight. So some programming notes. Everyone's getting the holiday mood. So Bloom, let's wrap this thing up with some Colts talk.
Yeah.
Summer stock.
Foles, right. Deion Jackson, Zach Moss, what the heck flexes? It's Deion Jackson. You have to play one because he's the one that's going to be in if they're behind, and also a bigger part of the passing game than Zach Moss. Zach Moss got a ton of work and showed, well, he's a mediocre running back as he has throughout his career. Michael Pittman, yes, you'll see the targets there for him, and that's about it. It's just been so strange for the Colts. And there was a time, Cease, we can look back, right? Because Peyton Manning took this franchise, Peyton Manning, Tony Dungy, took this franchise to prominence they'd never had as the Indianapolis Colts. You can go back to the Baltimore Colts. We're going to go all the way back to 1972, right? The Baltimore Colts, that was a pretty special team. Johnny Unitas, Steelers let him go. Johnny Unitas and the Colts. And then it took until Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning had this neck issue. And it just happens the year that was lost because of the Peyton Manning neck issue happened to be the year that Andrew Luck. What amazing luck, right? Oh, how could it just end up this way for them? And we thought the Colts are just horseshoe, right? They're just charmed. And you see, and the questions are about Chris Ballard now. Is Chris Ballard going to be back? Because you just see the flaw in getting the quarterback and not building the offensive line. We joked in his first year, Cease, that he was like a Navy SEAL dropped behind enemy lines, and they said, shoot your way out. It was prophetic in a way, because you can't survive forever shooting your way out. And now this franchise is adrift, truly adrift. They haven't found a desert island yet.
Have not found that desert island. I have a test, Bloom.
Okay. C, always answer C.
Yes. There's a football test that if fans are old enough, they have to be old enough to do it. But just bring up David Carr. Anytime you're around football type, sports bar, what have you, Bring up David Carr, and for the guy who's like, yeah, he totally sucks. It's like, you weren't paying attention. David Carr was ruined before Andrew Luck was ruined. And trust me, both of them were ruined. Luck being more generational than Carr. But David Carr, like that career, he's better than his brother. He's better than Derek. And maybe some people, that's not saying much, but like, no. If you know, you know. David Carr was ruined by the Texans the way Andrew Luck was ruined by the Colts. I hope that franchise is cursed forever for what they did to Andrew Luck. Like, seriously, it's awful to have that sort of talent and just make him be like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. We have to do sleep of the week, Bloom. So let's do it. Yeah, let's just scat the sleeper of the week intro. Can we do that? Right?
Let's beatbox it. Yeah.
Now it's time for the sleeper of the week. I'll play the video anyway.
It's time for the Sleeper of the Week, powered by Sleeper.
I was not able to get Gardner Minshew off my waiver wire, but I got Quez Watkins. Sleeper of the week, everybody. Sure. Let the good times roll.
Yeah.
Your sleeper of the week. Who is it, Bloom?
Yeah. Gardner Minshew, sleeper of the week, right? Some running backs and wide receivers, sleepers. And your sleeper of the week, what tech flexes. And again, pause on Latavius Murray, Khalil Herbert, James Cook, Devin Singletary. How much is the ball going to be run there? I guess if you're going to play in Miami, what running back could be Jeff Wilson, Deion Jackson, Gus Edwards. Going a little deeper, Joshua Kelly. We talked about Travis Homer. We're going to see if Kenneth Walker is going to play. If Kenneth Walker doesn't play and Seattle's in catch-up mode, Travis Homer. I've got a decision of Travis Homer or Cordell Patterson or Trevin Singletary. I got to play two of those guys. Can you tell that this team's going to lose, Cease? Can you tell this team has no chance in the playoffs this week? That's what happens when you get schedule luck, I guess. Wide receiver Chris Moore against Tennessee. All three of the Giants receivers. Russell Gage. We talked about Marquise Goodwin. Tyler Boyd, again, interesting against New England if they take away Jamar Chase. And again, I got to mention Taysom Hill. And look, it's fun, right? I mean, whatever happens, Taysom Hill, Gardner Minshew, these are fun plays. Let's have some fun. And the IDP show guys did a show with them. Beautiful souls, wonderful people. The Shed. That's the best set for any fantasy football show, by the way. I mean, that's just a tribute, right? When you take a shed in your backyard and you turn it into a fantasy football podcast studio, that's surpassed anything that we've done, you know. And at the end of the show, Cease, they asked, you have any advice for people? I said, yeah, set your lineups and go be with your people, you know, be gluttonous, pass out, you know, watch A Christmas Story or whatever it is, your favorite ritual. Think about the people that aren't here, that are people that led to you being who you are and where you are today, and pay tribute to them. Tell stories about them, say their name, you know, think about what Christmas meant to you or the holidays meant to you at this time when you were a kid. Remember that wonder, that awe, and remember, Cease, what is this about? What is this season about? What is it about? Rebirth. And every day we're reborn. Every day we have a chance to write a new story, and that's beautiful. And it's quite a thing to be a human being at this time and place with all y'all, and getting to do this. And so this is a chance to turn off all the distractions and just breathe it in, because one day you won't be able to.
Fantastic. He is Sigmund. I am Cecil. We are the Audible. Everyone have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Be safe. Be kind. Know that you are appreciated. And as always, stay tuned. And please stay frosty.